What if I told you Africa is not waiting anymore? Not for permission, not for approval, not for anyone's blessing. From the Nile River to the Sahel, from Kampala to Ouagadougou, something is shifting. Some countries are shutting their doors on African students. Some countries still want to control African rivers, African gold, even the safety of African children. But Africa is pushing back. Is it water? Is it education? Is it the safety of our children? Or is it something deeper? Something about the mind of the whole continent. Stay with us, because by the end of this video, you will understand why 2026 might be the year Africa finally says enough. Today, let's break it down. Let's start with water, because without water, nothing else matters. Right now, there's a quiet war between Egypt and Ethiopia. No guns, no soldiers crossing borders, but it's a war all the same. It's about the Nile, the river that built ancient Egypt. Here's the background. Simple terms, Ethiopia built a massive dam on the Blue Nile. It is called the Grand Ethiopia Renaissance Dam. People just call it GERD. The thing is huge. It costs about $4 billion. It can make over 5,000 megawatts of power. That makes it the biggest hydro dam on the whole continent. For Ethiopia, this dam means everything. Light in homes that never had light, power for factories, jobs, growth. Ethiopia sees this dam as a ticket to the future. But for Egypt, this same dam feels like a knife pointed at their throats. Why? Egypt gets almost all its water from the Nile, 97%. No river, no Egypt. So when Ethiopia controls the water, Egypt feels its survival is in someone else's hands. Egypt is angry. Egypt says Ethiopia runs the dam alone. No real agreement. Egypt says that breaks international law. Egypt's water minister spoke out. He said Ethiopia's actions force Egypt to keep changing its plans just to keep up with the sudden changes in water levels. That is not something any country wants for its main water source. It's not just Egypt either. Sudan sits in the middle. Sudan has complained too. Sudan's own agriculture ministry blamed the dam for a drop in Nile water levels. Now here's what gets it political. Former US President Donald Trump has said this more than once. He says America paid for this dam. He says Ethiopia is using it to block the Nile. He even offered to step in to mediate the whole dispute. Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed shut that down completely. He spoke at Ethiopia's parliament. He said Ethiopia took no loan, not $1 of foreign aid to build this dam. He said Ethiopians built it inside the country and in the diaspora together with their own money, their own hands. The CEO of the company that built that dam backs this up too. He said no international lender was involved. And he made one more point. The dam makes electricity. It doesn't store water to starve anyone downstream. So both sides are digging in. And while they argue, Egypt is doing something smart, something quiet. Egypt is going around Ethiopia, building friendships with other countries that share the Nile. The clearest example is Tanzania. Egypt's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi flew to Dar es Salaam. He met Tanzania's president. They signed deals, transport, electricity, renewable energy. Sisi even talked about a new shipping route linking Egypt's port of Safega with the Dar es Salaam, plus a transport corridor from Cairo to Tanzania. Why does this matter? Tanzania is one of the 11 countries all sharing the Nile basin. Egypt isn't fighting Ethiopia head-on. Egypt is going around the table, shaking hands with every other country on this river, building trust, building projects, building depths of gratitude. Egypt even helped Tanzania build its own hydro dam, the Julius Nyerere Dam. So think about what is really happening here. This isn't just a water argument anymore. It is a fight for influence, a fight for who controls the future of a whole region. Egypt wants Ethiopia standing alone. Ethiopia wants to prove that it needs no one's permission. Here's the real question. Nobody can answer it yet. What happens if there's a drought? What happens if the water drops and there is still no agreement? There's the moment this quiet war could turn to something bigger. For now, both countries are watching each other and we are watching the river. Now, let's talk about something that touches every African family: education. Specifically, where our young people are allowed to go and learn. For decades, two names came to mind. If you were a bright young African with big dreams, France and America. These were the dream destination. But right now, in 2026, that dream is getting harder to reach. The West is closing doors. Other parts of the world are wide open, waiting. Let's start in France. Outside the French embassy in Yaoundé, Cameroon, there have been protests, angry students, worried parents. Why? France just raised the bar for who can get a student visa. Reports say students now need to prove something, access to around $25,000 just to get the visa. Some students were already accepted. They already paid registration fees. They already agreed to pay tuition in small parts. Now, suddenly, they might need to prove that they can pay it all upfront. That is not a small problem. That is a family's entire savings or more. France has always been the top destination for African students. Almost 200,000 African students study there. More than half of all the international students in France come from Africa, mostly Morocco, Algeria, Senegal, and Cameroon. For years, shared language and history made this connection natural, but that is changing fast. Tuition went up for students outside the EU. Now, financial rules went up too. Families who once saw France as reachable now feel shut out. It's not just France. Across the Atlantic, America is doing something similar. Under the Trump administration, student visa rules got stricter. Visas are now limited to 4 years. Students have much less freedom to switch schools, and the time you can stay after graduating cut from 60 days to just 30. You can already see the damage. International student numbers in America dropped 20% this spring. That cost American universities an estimated $1 billion in lost income. Let that sink in. The West is pushing away the very students who bring money, talent, and energy into their own universities. So where are the African students going instead? The Gulf, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar. These countries are stepping in fast, offering fully funded scholarships, free housing, generous money support. Reports say Saudi Arabia alone now hosts over 9,000 African students. That number keeps growing. China is doing the same. More African students enroll in Chinese universities every year, helped by scholarships, cheaper tuition, closer ties, built through China Belt and Road projects across the continent. Let's be honest about why this is happening. This isn't charity, it is strategy. Africa has the youngest population on earth. By 2050, 1 of the 4 people alive will be African. Whoever educates that generation shapes how they think, who they trust, who they trade with, who they call friends. For the next 50 years, for a long time, Paris and Washington shaped Africa's future leaders. Now, these same countries make it harder for African youth to enter. So Riyadh, Doha, Abu Dhabi, and Beijing are opening their doors wide, and they know exactly what they are doing. Here's the question worth sitting with. If the next generation of African doctors, engineers, and leaders train in Riyadh and Beijing instead of Paris and Washington, what does Africa's future look like 20 years from now? That is not a small shift. That is a whole new direction for the continent. This next story is heavy, but we have to talk about it. It is about our children. In Uganda, the government suspended every school trip in the whole country, every single one. This didn't happen for no reason. It happened because of a tragedy, one that broke the nation's heart. On the 16th of July, a school bus was headed back from a trip to CP Falls in eastern Uganda. something went wrong. Police say the driver lost control. The buses veered off the road. It hit a large stone. It flipped over. 24 people died. 23 of them were children. 3 other buses in the same convoy made it back to Kampala safely. 6 of the children who died still haven't been identified. Read that again. 23 children gone on a school trip. One day meant for fun and learning, it became the worst day of so many families' lives. Uganda's government moved fast. They called an emergency meeting. They made a decision. Stop all school trips everywhere right now while they investigate what went wrong. One official explained it plainly. He said, Uganda can't just wait and see what happens tomorrow. He said, Uganda already had safety guidelines sent to every school, but somehow some people don't read them or they simply don't care. So now, all long-distance school trips are paused until every school proves it follows the rules. Sadly, this isn't the first time. Uganda has struggled with road safety for years. In 2024 alone, official reports counted over 4,400 fatal crashes, more than 5,000 deaths on Uganda roads in 1 year. Back in October last year, another bus crash killed 46 people on a major highway. Uganda's education minister raised another point, a disturbing one. Some vehicles used for these trips aren't proper buses, they are modified trucks, never built to carry passengers safely, used anyway. The government put together a task force to write new rules to protect children on every future trip. One minister said something worth remembering. She said, safety isn't the job of one group alone. It is a national duty. Every school, every child care center, every transport service, every community, all responsible for protecting children. This story isn't just about Uganda. Every country listening should ask the same question. Are we checking the vehicles that carry our children? Are we following our own safety rules? Or are we writing them down and forgetting them? 23 children shouldn't have died for us to ask that question. But now, the question is asked. We can't look away. Now, let's end with a story about the mind. Some change you can't see with your eyes. Almost 40 years after the assassination of Thomas Sankara, the revolutionary leader of Burkina Faso, another voice is rising from the same country, Ouagadougou, calling for the same kind of freedom Sankara died for. That voice belongs to Captain Ibrahim Traore, the current president of Burkina Faso. In a fiery speech to his national forces, he said something that should make every African stop and think. He said Africa would never be truly free until it breaks free from imperialism. Not just the political kind, the mental kind too, the economic kind too. Listen to how he put it. He said the West came for 400 years to take Africans away, to work them, to kill them in every possible way, and Africans always resisted. So his question was simple and painful. Why can't we resist today? Why can't we change course? He said Africa has been hurt so deeply, broken down over generations, so much that many of us now love our former oppressors more than we love ourselves. He called it Stockholm Syndrome, the one that if Africans don't wake up to this, the continent is finished. Strong words, but Traore didn't stop at words. He talked about real action. He said the first step to a real freedom is economic self-reliance. Produce what you consume, process what you dig from the ground. Stop shipping raw materials abroad only to buy them back later as finished products at 10 times the price. He gave a real example. He talked about food company Nestle and the reports. It found that some of its baby food products sold in African countries had added sugar. The same products sold in Europe did not. For Traore, that is not just one company's mistake. That is a symbol of something bigger, a continent treated as a second class, even in what they feed our own babies. He said Africa exports gold, cocoa, cotton, oil, and gets almost nothing back for it, while everyone gets rich off what we dig up, off what we grow. Africa creates the wealth, someone else keeps the profit. Traore also took the direct aim at foreign aid. He said too many groups come through NGOs claiming to help, but really just finding new ways to control African resources and bypass African governments. He said something Burkina Faso won't back down from. We don't need your aid because all of this is just a way to keep us down. This isn't just Traore talking alone. Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, all three pushing the same message. Take back control of natural resources, reduce dependence on old Western partners. God sits right at the center of that push. Traore said the state must take a bigger role, managing Burkina Faso's gold. So gold builds Burkina Faso, not some foreign company's balance sheet. The number backs him up so far. Burkina Faso reportedly hit a record 94 tons of gold in 2025, its highest ever, even after years of instability. But the deepest part of Traore's message wasn't about gold or aid or trade numbers. It was about how Africans see themselves. He said slavery isn't really over. He said in 2026, people are still treated like they are not fully humans. He said imperialism has no single color, no single face. It shows up everywhere. Africans have to be brave enough to name it and fight it wherever it hides. French troops have already left Burkina Faso. New partners have stepped in to fill the space. But Traore's warning is clear. Don't trade one master for another. Thomas Sankara once said, "He who feeds you controls you." Almost 40 years later, Ibrahim Traore says the same thing to a brand new generation. Let's bring these four stories together. Egypt and Ethiopia fighting over who controls the Nile. African students getting priced out of the West, while the Gulf and China open their arms wide enough. Uganda mourning 23 children, demanding real accountability for their safety. Burkina Faso calling for Africa to finally break free, not just from foreign armies, but from foreign control over the mind. Different stories, same trade won't through all of them. Africa is done waiting for permission. Africa is done being told what to think, what to drink, what to trade, who to trust. The next chapter of this continent story won't be written in Paris, won't be written in Washington. It will be written right here on African soil by African hands. What do you think? Do you believe Africa is finally taking control of its own future, or do you think it is more complicated than that? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to AfriArise, like this video and turn on notifications. Thank you for watching. My name is Blessed Grace. See you in the next one.